Hey, we're live. Andy Pepper, just getting the hang of this. Going the other way here. There we go. Trying to center myself up. First time in the new digital studio. You've probably seen any member of our weather team. Keith uses this a lot. Will Haney, Jeff Porter, obviously Colin. They use the digital studio a lot. We're trying to make this more of a common thing in 2025 for the anchors and the reporters to get in here, hop on the digital studio, and talk a little bit about what's going on, what we're covering, what we're doing, kind of drive you to our coverage, at 5, 10, and 11, 6 o'clock, obviously, and or our website, shameless plug, WWMT.com. I'm probably going to do this every Wednesday morning or afternoon. I work day shifts on Wednesday, so depending on if I have a morning shoot or an afternoon shoot, I want to hop in here and talk about whatever's pressing, whatever's going on, whatever we want to gab about in the sports world. So hopefully you can join me on here on Wednesdays moving forward. All right, so I wanted to talk about the Lions. I mean, some days I'll probably have a number of topics to just touch on, but the Lions suffering a fairly devastating and shocking to most people's minds early season playoff exit to the Commanders, obviously, on Saturday night. Don't shoot the messenger. So the offseason has begun, and as expected, the departures have begun. Ben Johnson officially announced as the Bears' new head coach. He will be introduced today in Chicago. I don't want to get too sideways on this, but a lot of folks on Twitter, which I love, calling him a traitor. He's not a traitor. There's only so many head coaching jobs available per offseason. And he was going to take the best one, and that was the one reportedly that he wanted. If you think Ben Johnson's a traitor, then David Montgomery, is he a traitor? Came from Chicago to Detroit. That's how fans work. That's how we all get. No comments yet, but we'll check in on those. So Ben Johnson's gone. He said yesterday in a video that the Bears put on Twitter, this is exactly where we wanted to be. This is exactly where we wanted to be, and with good reason. He's got Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick of last year's draft. Pretty much, I wanted to say a middling season, but I checked on his stats: 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 picks, very solid quarterback rating. He did get sacked 68 times. The Bears' offensive line, kind of a mess, but a lot of those sacks attributed to Caleb, who has a reputation for holding on to the ball too long. The reason the top quarterbacks rarely get hurt is because they know where they want to go with the ball. Boom, 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 ball gone. 3 seconds or less, you're not going to get hit. They've got the 10th overall pick. They've got 4 of the top 72 picks in the draft. They have the 4th most cap space available with just shy of $75 million. Obviously, they're probably going to want to address the line in both the draft and free agency. But there is some talent there on that 5 and 12 team. Although they're playing in the rugged NFC North, which is just an absolute minefield. Look, Ben Johnson resurrected Jared Goff's career. I mean, he was a cast-off. He was seen as a colossal bust, a former number 1 overall pick, and now he's back in the Pro Bowl, and he's the Lions guy, and I can't even go to a high school game without hearing the Jared Goff chant. So I think Ben Johnson, obviously a perfect fit for Chicago, as much as it upsets the Lions faithful, which I totally respect. Now, the next question is defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. Where's he going? He went for a second interview yesterday with the New York Jets. Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network reported that the goal was not to let Glenn out of the building without signing a new deal. Well, that didn't happen. Glenn has a lot of history with that franchise, played the first 8 years of his career there, went to a couple of Pro Bowls, very well respected. He's supposed to meet with the Saints today. He was a Saints assistant for 5 years, so he has a history with both franchises. New Orleans has an absolutely horrific salary cap situation. It is an older team, an aging roster. I think they're somewhere in the ballpark of 65 million over the cap. And so that might not be the most attractive situation. But then again, there's only so many of these head coaching jobs available. Jets, I think, much better situation. Some young talent to build around. I really like Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. They do have Devontae Adams on the wrong side of 30, and the big question is, do you keep Devontae? Do you keep Aaron Rodgers, who's 41 years old and came off a very poor season, really only started to show signs of being the old, no pun intended, Aaron Rodgers in the last half dozen games or so. But that's a big situation there. Do you bring him back for 1 year? Do you find a bridge quarterback? This is not a great draft for quarterbacks. So a lot of questions there. I'm kind of surprised, frankly, that the deal didn't get done yesterday when the Jets had him in the building, if Aaron Glenn was, in fact, their top choice. Dan Campbell had his post-mort in Allen Park on Monday, asked about losing two coordinators. He says he expects to lose both, and how this could hinder the team next season. Short answer, he said it can't. He said it can't. He said he's got to hit those picks. He's got to nail his new choices for offensive coordinator and most likely defensive coordinator should Glenn depart. The other question was, is the Lions Super Bowl window still open? He said, yes, of course it is. They are very good and they're very young. Jared Goff's going to be 31 next year, very young for a quarterback, obviously. Jahmyr Gibbs entering his third season. David Montgomery, some concern on my part. He's going to be 28 next year. Historically, NFL running backs, age 27, start to decline. You don't see a lot of productive running backs in this league after the age of 30. Amon-Ra, just going to be 26 in October. Kirby Joseph, 24. Aiden Hutchinson, going to be entering his third season. Laporta's 24. Jameson Williams, 24. Brian Branch, 24 in October. Penei Sewell, 25 in October. Just an incredibly talented, very young roster. So obviously the Super Bowl window is open and should be for at least 1 to 2 more seasons. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot. I wouldn't be shocked if that window's open 3 to 5 years. But again, things change so quickly in the NFL. Careers are much shorter. You get contract holdout. The Lions aren't going to be able to pay everybody. They will eventually run into some salary cap issues. But right now, obviously, the future's still very bright. They really have to nail those 2 coordinator positions. Detroit with the 28th pick in the draft. They have 6 picks in the 2025 NFL draft. They don't have a 3rd round selection, and they don't have a 5th round pick. They traded that 5th rounder to the Browns when they got Za'Darius Smith, obviously to replace Aiden Hutchinson. That was a fantastic move, and they had to spend that capital. But again, not having a 3rd and 5th round when you have a GM as big as Brad Holmes, that's significant to me. Their cap space is better than I thought. They're 5th with approximately $67 million in cap space, but I wouldn't expect them to spend wildly because, as Brad Holmes said last offseason, they've got a lot of guys they got to pay. There's going to be guys coming up for extensions. I think Kirby Joseph could get an extension coming off an all-pro season. Look, Gibbs eventually is going to get extended. Aiden Hutchinson obviously going to get extended. Laporta probably going to get extended. I don't know if they'll be able to afford both Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, but he's just fantastic. Sewell's already been extended. Amon-Ra's been extended. Goff got that huge deal. So they spent a lot of money, and the NFL is such a cash cow that right now the salary cap's been jumping more than expected every year. So they haven't run into the cap trouble. I mean, believe it or not, the downside of killing your draft like Brad Holmes does is you got to pay these guys, and you got to figure out how to manage the cap and make wise decisions. And he's an excellent GM. When I was growing up, Ron Wolf of the Packers, outstanding GM. That's why they were so good for 20 years. Bill Polian, the Colts during the Peyton Manning years, outstanding GM. You have a guy like that. You have a Brad Holmes. You are in great position. Schedule is going to be rough next year. They have away games at Baltimore, at Kansas City, at Washington, at Philly. That's what happens when you play the first place schedule. They're going to host the Steelers and the Buccaneers, among others, both playoff teams. Then, of course, they play in the NFC North. The Bears are going to be, I would wager, much improved. The Vikings coming off a 14-win season. The Packers, a playoff team. So, yeah, future looks bright for the Detroit Lions, but they've got to kick that door in. You talk about a Super Bowl window, and you look back, and this just popped in my head, but the Tigers, they had all those years in the ALCS, all those years of knocking on the door, could never kick that door in, swept in the 2012 World Series, lose a couple of other ALCSs, and They just never got over that hump with that great core. Right now, the Baltimore Ravens, if they're going to get over the hump, it's not going to be this year. Another early playoff exit. Buffalo Bills still have a chance, but they've come up short the last 4 years. So windows in the NFL are much shorter for the reasons I mentioned. Injuries, contract situations, best players get traded or go elsewhere to cash in on those big free agent deals. Look, Aiden Hutchinson should recover, snapped his tibia and fibula. He had said that he hoped to be ready by the Super Bowl. We'll never know. Dan Campbell didn't think that was going to happen. All due respect to Aiden Hutchinson, he thought it was a season-ending injury, but obviously that is now moot. But look, Lions just outstanding. Their fan base thirsty for a Super Bowl, and it's just insanely hard. The Chiefs have made it look easy, but they are the exception, obviously not the rule. I think of the San Francisco 49ers, a couple close Super Bowl losses to the Chiefs, 2 other NFC championship game losses. You talk about teams trying to kick in that door and take advantage of the window that they have with the young talent they have before it ages, before they lose players to free agency. And so the next 2 years are going to be really pivotal for this Detroit Lions franchise. So that's it. That's my TED Talk on the Detroit Lions. We'll probably talk a lot about them in the weeks to come as we start to hear NFL draft chatter, NFL free agency opens. Find out when we talk this time next week if Aaron Glenn's still with the team or not. I think Dan Campbell will move very fast to replace both coordinators. Again, just a pivotal offseason for the Detroit Lions. So that's it. Andy Pepper talking Lions this week. Next week, maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Tigers. I know the offseason has been very disappointing to a lot of folks. Alex Bregman's still sitting out there. Has a lot of history, obviously, with A.J. Hinch, would be a great fit in Detroit, but talks are stalled. Surprisingly, he's a Scott Boras client, so maybe I shouldn't be surprised. But we'll talk a little bit more Tigers. The Pistons, a game over 500. They've already won 22 games after winning just 14 all of last year. Red Wings lost in overtime last night, but did pick up another point. Been incredible under Todd McCullough, so hopefully going to end their get off the schneid as far as their playoff drought as well. Michigan, MSU hoops, both inside the top 20. WMU getting a big win last night, just the second MAC win of the season for Dwayne Stevens' crew. So we'll talk about a lot of things. Just keep an eye on us on WWMT.com and reach out if you want. A Pepper WWMT on Twitter, and of course my Facebook page, WWMT. I can't speak. WWMT's Andy Pepper. You can reach me on Facebook as well. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. And once again, we'll see you here every Wednesday.